Alright, so here's to my second video. I actually already created this video and released it, and then realized that I did not have my microphone on, therefore you guys would not be able to hear me very well. Not very considerate. So, moving on, today's episode is about a particular series of affairs that I have gone through on Twitter, specifically just to highlight the effects that you and everybody else on social media have on our current state of affairs amongst everybody. And it's all very small micro patterns that amount to a greater macroscopic pattern, causing these general idea of what everybody's going through. But all of these little micro things, we can call them microaggressions, if you'd like, add up to a larger subset of issues which we need to pay attention to. So, I don't want to speak too much on the details and the wherefores and all that kinds of stuff. I want to dive right into it. So I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see what I'm looking at a little better. Alright, so this again centers around Jessica Yaniv, but it was a thread based on something she said where she said she has male genitals but can still get pregnant. So I'm going to start right away. In 2003, actually, I was in high school, grade 11, in parenting class, and I did a project on a man who had given birth to a child, and this man was in Germany or something, I can't remember exactly. It was all around the time we had watched the movie Junior in the class. So I ended up doing a project on it, researched it, but bear in mind it's 2003, so education within the journalist world, especially, well, not especially necessarily, but I mean education in general in the population about transgender issues and intersex issues and all that kinds of stuff, people who are transitioning and whatnot, was lower by a large margin. I don't even think that the LGBT community was like a thing yet. So with that having been said, I did this research and read all this stuff. Again, totally probably erroneous now because I haven't even been able to find that story again. Or the other option is that, and we'll see as we go through here, because I'll bring you through. So here's the article. I found an article, what I thought was the article that I had researched, or not the article, but the gentleman or person involved in the particular story. So this was what I thought it was, and I did a quick little research, ascertained if there was any other stories of a similar nature. It was the only one, so I assumed that it had to be the one that I had read. I skimmed through some basics of it. I didn't read the whole article, which in hindsight I really should have done. But having said that, I posted the article and said, I mean, it's possible. I wasn't defending Jessica Yaniv. I was just sort of saying like, hey, I've seen this cool, other scientific thing, which is interesting. And, for me, whenever I came to that sort of like realization, like, wow, a man could have a baby, I was completely shocked and appalled, really. I was like, this just changes everything, and I'm somewhat glad to have been corrected, not gonna lie. But continuing on, so I posted that, and we'll see kind of how things go. And we if you ask me, a lot of, and I'll actually search for, there was a particular reply that came to me, maybe one or two, that were a perfect example of an earnest and civil reply to somebody who said something like what I said. And so I have to give kudos to the people who act that way and are outside of this sort of, but it's like 2 people out of like 20, 30, and that's not counting all of the people who have liked all of the little comments that were said prior to my replies, that were said, in a harassing and mean tone and scornful and that kinds of stuff. And none of them have liked, there is no overlap of the people who have liked those scornful and mean comments with people liking my comments in reply that sort of explain like, hey, I was, I made a mistake. I'm being humble here and accepting that I made a mistake. And I have to say this too. I feel that being humble online is something that is very important. Somebody has told me that I should delete this post and that I would stop or mute the post so I stopped seeing all these replies. But if you ask me, running from our mistakes, running from what makes us human, and not leaving things for posterity, to be able to look back at the future, and leaving examples of leadership and showing humility, I think that there's something to be said for that. I think that, look, here's a person who made a mistake, he's dealing with the fallout, and he's putting his, you know what I mean, and he's continuing on, and now he's a person who knows better, you know. That is an acceptable thing. That is acceptable for people to go through. In fact, it is preferable that people are able to do that. So the bullying that occurs here in response to somebody who does that is actually extremely disconcerting to me, and it makes me worried about the population as a whole, as all types of events like this occur and unfold through social media as a whole. So I'll continue just so I can show you here. So this person said, nope, the dad's 100% female who identifies as a man. So at this point, I'm still not convinced that the story that I read in high school is false. So I said, fine, there's a male who gave birth. I did a project on him in parenting class in high school. They found a spot he could safely carry a womb to term. And it was supposed to be some variation of like an ectopic pregnancy or something like that. To which I've learned that is absolutely crazy to have thought of, and thought that could be possible. I'm nuts. This person here now comes in. Do you think it's possible? So actually Liz, it seems Liz here may have deleted some of her previous posts, as I haven't been able to find them. It's also possible. I find that the threading method of Twitter is super disorganized and probably really lends the whole situation and the way it occurs like this lends its aid to it, because the way that Twitter separates what's been said and that kinds of stuff really lends a easy path for aggression, like this situation to happen. Really, I don't have to go too much into it. So this was in 2003. So she says, do you think it's possible that the guy you learned about at school was in fact a trans man who had been born a woman? And then logical. So that right now, me and her, we've diverged. She went from being somewhat scornful in her replies to more to this sort of degree, and I said, well, this was in 2003, so that's very possible. It hadn't been written very mindfully in that time. And this, I think actually this reply came after or before, sorry, this other one. Well, I don't know why it's listed after. So anyways, I had said, I assumed that it was the one I had reported on, which I've just explained to you guys. So then, in following, after I've already said that, someone comes in and says, I'm sorry, Tyrone, but you're mistaken. It's a physical impossibility for a male to become pregnant and carry a baby, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I come in and say, just like I've told you guys here, making a mistake isn't the end of the world if one has humility and can admit it, being a leader in humility. However, I can't speak to the nasty tone of many of the replies to my discussing. I think folks should be more diplomatic, which is true. That's what I'm trying to get across. And Liz said, I don't think anyone's being nasty. You are right. Anyone can make a mistake. I suppose the gender debate is really hot at the moment and people are a bit wound up with it, ready to defend their positions. Sorry if you picked up on some unintentional hostility, which I did, and I appreciated the apology. Some civility and earnest conversation between two people. Now, if anybody had seen this original thread, they would be clear that, okay, he does not continue to believe this. But it continues on. It continues on. It continues on. It continues on. And people badger and say things. So, I continue on. And this is where one of the people who had been badgering me, Plebby, says, you may be better muting the thread. He realizes the position I'm in. And he says, you're going to probably see a lot from this. And it continues on. And it continues on. She says, carry our womb to term. I say, and it's the eyebrow, what are you, are you stupid? Are you dumb? Again, another female, not male, trans, blah blah blah. Again, another, it's like a mother talking down to her child. Again, I have to tell you over and over, that is not how you talk to people civilly online. Learn how to use your words better. Embryo in the word, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. So that's that. So that's the thread. That's the initial thread where you can see, and that's the very first day that this was all posted, and you can see that Tyrone is acknowledged is wrong. He's wrong. This person was misinformed. Whoever might have written the article from before, etc., etc. So now moving on, here's another. So this is where I sort of am like, this is an issue. This is where it starts to be more almost sociologically interesting to analyze the way these people behaved. So I don't know whether these people are left or right. I couldn't tell, honestly. So this is just people. I feel like there are people of both persuasions in this. But so this Lord Milton Damerol, genetically born woman got pregnant. What's your point? You know, okay, cool. You said that 9 hours ago today. We saw the last thread was on the 24th. So if you took some time before speaking, you know, like think before you speak, and made sure you had some integrity and knew what you were talking about before you commented, then you would have found yourself without your foot in your mouth. So people, but then even more foot mouth, like the foot gets shoved right down the throat and out their ass. I'm telling you, people like Tyrone think they're challenging some form of stereotype. So, and this was actually in reply, him saying that, I think was in reply to something else, where I was saying how people generalize and don't know what they're talking about in regards to our ideas. I don't know where that went, and I'm not sure why it's not included in this little stream part of it. But in any case, so I think they're when they are simply denying scientific fact. So when they are denying scientific fact, I have already showed the humility and done the humble thing. So people like Tyrone are challenging some form of stereotype. They're simply denying scientific fact. Well, sorry, you, sir, are now the one who is stating false facts. You are also judging me and saying that there isn't a difference between people like this and flat earthers, when I've already conceded to everything. So now you foot, mouth, and I apparently think I'm challenging some form of stereotype, which you go ahead and confirm exists when you say everything you say after that, because it's wrong. You say those things and I've already shown otherwise. So actually that's entirely not the case, and your tweet is a good example of irony. It's ironic that you didn't take the time to educate yourself about what you were commenting on before saying anything, because I've already conceded and I'm not anti-science, and whenever evidence is presented to me, I can accept science and evidence and move forward. So how so, he asks. And I say the fact that I've shown humility and admitted I was mistaken. We've talked about how transgender issues weren't well understood in the time I did my high school project, and I'm happy to know that no man has ever given birth. Imagine my shock when I thought I learned otherwise. You know, and then actually you're missing a whole slew of this here. How so? So, hold on. Oh, they deleted it. They must have. They must have. So they went on to say that I didn't even know what irony meant, and people like me are like talking to an algorithm, and that kinds of stuff. So they must have deleted it after I made them look foolish. So that said, so I did my high school project, and I'm happy to know that no man has ever given birth. Imagine my shock when I learned otherwise. However, though I posted this, I don't feel like inclined to delete it, since it's an example of someone making a mistake and having the humility to own up to it. You, however, don't have the integrity to make sure that you are abreast of the situation and comment despite it. Ergo, your tweet saying I'm fighting some phantom stereotyping was an example of that stereotyping while rejecting its existence. The irony in that is twofold, in that you also don't have the humility to actually verify the facts and concede in earnest the way I was able to. And this is what I'm trying to get at. I'm able to articulate myself and say this, but there are people, when they come across this, they just become overwhelmed emotionally, and they're like, I don't know what to say. This person says this and it's not true, you know, and then they become emotional and those kinds of things. So my whole point here is pay attention how you're talking to people. Pay attention. Like, look here. Now, if you look at these are my current tweets. this is a guy who was supporting them, Al Holmes. He was involved in supporting their sort of little chirping against me. And then here he is. Yeah, color me surprised. After I said, hey, I guess you can't judge a person by one tweet, can you? Yeah, color me surprised. You can't judge somebody by one tweet. I mean, oh, Outspoken, you did a great job in the video, and you've rightly put it. It's disgusting. You know, people, oh, they see my perspective on JY now, and people are like, yeah, that's awesome. You know, that's great. And then you have this person here. Stop with the BS. It gets like, so that's always going to be there, and all of these people are always going to be sitting there looking at how to destroy other people. But I'm willing to bet a large 80% of all those people out there destroying people online tongue-in-cheek say mental health is an issue, we need to be compassionate to people and take care of people and make sure people are okay. And this is, again, across the partisan line. Everybody has become hyper-partisan. As soon as you depart from the orthodoxy of what they believe, as soon as a little fact of what you say shows any similarity to something they oppose, they default to the aggressive snark that they have had in their previous conversations and cause a dramatic issue in terms of dialogue with the person they're talking to. Because we are 7.5 billion people. No one person thinks exactly alike. A lot of people have similarities, but you don't want to be treated as though you're just part of a monolith. You want to be treated like an individual. So if you want that same respect, you give that same respect to others. It's just logical. I mean, I have a hard time with this. It has nothing to do with me. Like, at the end of the day, okay, it's a little stressful. It gets my stomach going. It gets the blood pressure going. It's not good for my health. I don't like it. It's not good for anybody, though. And that's my point. Like, it's not just me. It's other people. Other people who don't have the resilience, who don't have the emotional coping mechanisms that I have, who become exposed to this type of behavior. And we pretend that we care. Take 2 seconds to think about what you're saying before you say it. I want to show one example of somebody who did not. It's going to be hard. This is a long time ago now. Page down. If I zoom out a little bit, it'll help. Yeah, this Crystal Smith one too was she was being extremely well. I mean, come on, it should be too obvious that you shouldn't have posted it. It's not biologically possible. Come on, like, if you're a skeptic, if you're a real true skeptic, and you come across something and there's evidence or something that's put across to it, you're gonna entertain the idea, and that's what I ended up doing because I came across it in a formal setting. Like, so. Yeah, this person come in, something seriously wrong with you. You know, like, do you even know me to say that? And like all these people just liking, like, you don't see many likes of what I've said to say, like, no, I admit, you know, no. It's all about, like, it's a big circle jerk. It's a big, like, oh yeah, we're in this together against this guy. Yeah, we got the power in numbers. Oh yeah, that virtue signaling. You know, honestly, I find it disgusting. Like, I'm all for positive values and that kinds of stuff, but the way that people circle jerk, the way that people get, like, bully and they gang up on people and things like that, it's just, it's wrong. Right. Better. There was one particular person. She was like literally the most logical person to reply to this entire thread, and this climate dog person too. Oh, that was a whole other conversation. Yeah, it's a whole other spot. See, and that's why this is crazy too, because, like, I'm going back so far with all these other things. how did people suddenly start doing this again on this thread? Like, oh, I didn't see any of this stuff. Come on, just give me this one person. I know what her picture looked like. Yeah, I think it was this one. Yeah, it's right here. Hey, she's liking my tweets. Also, kudos to your conversational approach rather than accusatory and scornful. Because she comes in. She says, possibly an intersex woman with some ostensibly male characteristics, but still fertile. Either way, anyone pregnant is definitionally female, since the production of ova is a prerequisite for natural pregnancy, and even pregnancy using the ova of another can only exist. You know, so like she just kind of, you know, maybe it's this. I don't know. It wasn't about like, oh please, I can't believe I have to explain this to adults today, and you know what I mean? It's just like, hey, possibly it's this, and da da da. That's how we should be doing it. So that's it. That's all. This is a long video. You can get out of here. I appreciate it. You could have skipped through my scrolling. I really hope you did. But thanks again for joining, and I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day.